Hi YouTube, welcome back to Wtf Rc Cars. So we've been doing a hell of a lot of FlySky content. Absolutely love FlySky, love working with the guys, and they've all been really interesting stuff to do. And I've got to keep the rest of my subscribers happy. So we're going back to a Tamiya kit this time, and this is something a little bit different. More along the lines of the sort of M07 concept, in line with that kind of car. These are the TA-08 Pro kit, and these don't come with any body shell or anything. So it's something aimed more at sort of the entry class or slower sort of motor class, sort of touring car Tamiya class type racing. But should be a very interesting kit to build, and I've got a whole load of hop-up parts and optional parts for this. I know one of the main complaints people have had with this is the chassis got too much flex in it, but we do have a sort of a fix for that, or something to try out at least. But let's bring you in for a close-up look and see what we get in the box. So it is a bit of a different box compared to a lot of the Tamiya cars. So we've got a bit of information on it. It shows you that it's a belt drive four-wheel drive system. It does give you a bit of a clue as to why this car seems to have so much flex in it. No top brace. But it is a bit of a different box compared to rest of them. We do get this little thing stuck inside of it. So it does tell you what other parts you're going to need to get this to run. 540 motor, radio gear and batteries basically. Not sure if you get wheels and tyres with it, but let's have a look. So the first thing that I can see is you get a whole load of metal parts. There's a lot of anodised parts in this, and a lot of bearings, and a hell of a lot of shims. So let's get everything out of the box. We've got a chassis, we've got a belt, we do get some wheels, got all the plastic parts, we have another belt, we got some stickers, we got some instructions, and the huge antenna straw. Amazed that we still actually get these with things, but we seem to get them with a lot of RCs. I believe X-Ray still chuck them in box. So we got the instructions. Quick flicking through these, don't look too bad. So let's start getting the parts out. So this should give you a better idea what we've got. So we've got a lot of blue anodised parts. Looks like we've got proper shocks, we've got full bearing kit, and a hell of a lot of little shims. But these are the main parts laid out. We got the chassis down this side, and then just the servo saver off shot. But we got all his diff gears, we've got his wheels, comes with a foam bumper, and these steering parts look like glass reinforced plastic or some kind of composite. Looks like it does come with real oil filled proper damp shocks, and we do have these little adjuster pills for the suspension. So should be an interesting build, but now we've got it all laid out, all that's left to do is start building the thing. So here we go. Right, so one of the first things you'll notice with this kit is we're on all hex heads instead of the JIS screws, which is really nice to see. And there's a lot of metal components where your likes at TT-02 would be plastic. So your little olives that go in ends, they're all metal. So you're going to want the plastic parts from the M parts, so that's M11, M12. The M10 are the 4 tiny little shims that come in the A bag. So we're going to need a 2.5mm hex driver, and we're going to have to put 2 of these in, and these are the larger of the grub screws. So they screw in from top, so you've got these pointing upwards, and it says a stock setting for these is screwed through so they stick out 3.5mm. So let's get them somewhere near to start with. Then this will be a lot easier to set if you've got a proper gauge. So let's set it to 3.5mm. Gonna need a bit more than that. And these are all adjustable once you get the RC assembled. And by the looks of these, it looks like these are droop screws. So if you get them pretty close to start with, make your job easier. And they are a 2mm hex that you're going to need for that. And then I believe the tiny ones, I'm not sure if these are 2. No, these are 1.5mm. And these are going to screw into the end. Now, it doesn't actually give us any measurement on how far these are going to screw in, so I'd just carefully screw them in until they stop. We can always screw these further in later. But both of these want to be facing away. So, moving along, we're going to want to get us olives into the end of these arms. And it does tell you to just pop them in with a set of pliers. And they are quite tough, but they do go in. So we've got as little hexes in, set to 3.5mm from the back, and then we got these 2 little ones. Next, we're going to have to assemble these. So we're going to pop one of them through the arm. Then you're going to need one tiny little shim on the front or back, depends which way you're looking at it. Then we want a tiny little metal shim. Then you want your M11 and then your M12. And we're going to have to do exactly the same for the opposite side. It does seem easier to get these through first, and then pop your shims on. And as you're moving these about, you're going to have to be careful that you don't move and tilt them and lose one of your little shims. But that is basically what we should end up with. So let's see what we've got next. Right, so next we're going to move on to these little parts, and it does say that we need to hold them. So you want the shorter of your screws. Then we're going to have to flip the chassis over, and you're aiming for these holes. So if we get them into place and then start screwing them down, so once you get them where they need to be, you can nip them up. And again, I'm not exactly sure what material this chassis is made out of, but it does look like it's reinforced. It's got a weird look to it. Looks like composite. So once we get them in, next you want your slightly longer X-head screw, and we're going to be going for these 2 holes either side on the chassis. So if we pop one of them through, And then when you put this part on, the M8 and M9, you need to chop the little lug off, and we're going for the A sort of lettering to be faced innermost. Now it does say that you can use a thread tool to create the threads for these, but I don't have one, so we're going to see if it's possible to just screw them in. It does feel like it will be. So we just get them started, and then I'll get the other one in place with the A designation facing inwards. And these do seem to hold into place pretty well, so it's not too difficult to position them. So we just need to get these screwed in. So this is what you should have now. The A designation to the inside and these fastened in. So you should be populating these screw holes in the bottom. And that's one of the little tags that you chop off these parts, the M8 and M9. So now we've got that done, let's move along, see what else we can get. And it does, I do see why they said this chassis's got a lot of flex. But let's carry on. So moving along, you want your arms in this position with the little grub screws facing forward and the plastic shims on the front. You need your 1A part, so it's the A block, and 2 of the 3x8mm screws. So we should be able to position these. And then we're aiming for the 2 of the rear facing holes. So it looks like you're going through them in the bottom. So if we get them all in position, and we should just be able to flip it over. And again, you're going to need a 2mm hex drive. And once you've got one in, it does hold it in place. So we just need to screw these down. And although it says that you need to use a thread making tool, so far every screw that I've attempted to put in has just screwed in and cut its own threads really easily. Just make sure you don't over tighten these, because you are just screwing into plastic parts. But it does mean you don't get the problem of the threads into metal where they shake loose, and you can see now how you can adjust your droop screws. So once you've got that done, they're all in position. It does look like them droop screws are a bit long, so I think the 3.5mm setting might be a little bit out, but they're going to be nice and easy to adjust once you've got the car assembled, and you can adjust your droop nice and easy with those. So let's move on and see what else we've got. Right, so moving on, we're going to need the arms face forward, so these are the D7 parts. Then we're going to need the bigger of the grub screws, and these are going to come in from the bottom, and you're going to want both these set into 1.8mm, so just below 2mm. So we'll get these into position. And again, you're going to adjust these to set the RC up, so the 1.8mm just to give you an idea. Then we're going to need 2 more grub screws, and these are going to screw into the blocks D6, and it says we just need 4mm on these. and these again will be the 1.5mm driver that you'll need. And it is just quite refreshing to build a Tamiya car that's not sort of crosshead JIS screws. But once we've got them in position, you're then going to need 2 of these button head screws, and we're going to get this. So your D6 part is going to want to fasten to the bottoms of the arms. And you want the triangular arrow shaped side facing in. And again, on these I've not had to create any of the threads. The screws have just threaded in perfectly fine on their own. And we're going to want the same assembled for the opposite side. Now, I've not really had a look into this, and I'm not sure if they do a TA-08 standard chassis and not the Pro. I just saw this one, thought it looked really nice, and thought, I fancy building that on channel. So here we are. Next, we're going to need to pop his little olives in again. These can be a little bit awkward. As long as you're careful, they do go in pretty easy. So once we've got them in, we're going to need as little ends. They are MA11 parts, and then we're going to need an A6 spacer as well. So once we've got as little A6 spacer, we're going to want that in from that side. You're going to want one of the 1/2 mil wide shims. Then you're going to want your plastic A6 spacer. And then you're going to want that on the end. And we're going to do exactly the same for this side. I think sometimes the Tamiya instructions can be a little bit difficult for some to follow with these sort of spacers and shims, with them not being colour, and it's got no arrow to say they're silver, they're black, just to give you somewhere as a starting point so you know what you're looking for. But that is part 5 all assembled, and I think purely in the interest of keeping these the length of these videos down, I'm gonna leave it at that, and we'll wrap this one up. So there we have it, the start of the build of the TA-08 Pro. Quite an interesting little car compared to a lot of the Tamiya kits. I mean, there's not a lot of play in that suspension at all. Tiny amount, but not really much, and it's not fully assembled yet. So should be quite an interesting little car to build and drive, this one. But thanks again for watching Wtf Rc Cars. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, share to friends and family, and hopefully catch you guys again in the next one.